Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wealth Preservation Podcast. Here as always with Josh Saunders. Josh, how are you doing?
Hey man, Happy New Year. It's 2022. We don't usually like to stamp stuff, but it's January 2022. New year, new you, Mark.
New year, new me. And I'm going to hit my, I blame not hitting my weight loss goals on COVID. So
Yes.
That's why I've missed it for the past 7 years in a row. So anyway,
Yeah.
well, today we are on with John Rubino. John, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks. Appreciate you having me on. I'm excited and getting ready to start off our great 2022 with you guys today.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Well, we're excited to dive into your business and what you do in the real estate world and real estate investing. But first, as always, we like to get a little bit of a picture of who you are and how you launched your business and the successes, failures, all that in between. So first, can you give us a quick, before we go into your background, can you give us a quick snapshot on what you do and the arena you operate in?
Sure do. I can. I was, so just real quick on me, I'm born and raised in New York, college out of New York. I was in the Navy for 20 years. I was a P3 pilot. I know Josh is down to VT28. I was at VT27. So
Yeah.
Go Boomers.
Yes,
right?
bro.
And
remember,
Josh
I
is
was
a
a
Ranger.
boomer.
That's
I
all
was
right.
a boomer for 30 years.
Hey, there you go. Cool. So we kind of crossed paths there, which is cool. I started real estate back in 2005 timeframe. Did some active stuff after a couple friends of mine got together and started talking about this crazy thing called real estate. I actively invested on some new construction properties right outside of Patuxent River, Maryland, which is in southern Maryland, and built 2 homes. And got the idea of this, doing it, seeing it, tasting it, feeling it, and I really enjoyed it. I had some really good success on the active side, and I decided that I was going to stay in the Navy. We had a 3-year tour overseas to Naples, Italy, so I went there with my family, and a couple of my buddies got out, stayed in real estate, decided to invest. A lot of them were going into DC and then the Virginia and Maryland markets. So I had started investing with them passively. Gave them a good chunk of change, and I was getting a nice fixed return every year for about a 7 to 8 year span. I went to back to Corpus as a department head and instructor pilot at VT27, and then came back to DC to finish out my 20 outside the Pentagon, working for the Navy staff. And while I was doing that, I was still investing. I was learning about it. And the nice thing was I wasn't directly involved in the operations, the management, the day-to-day stuff, but I was still involved in the projects. Obviously my money was in there, so I wanted to make sure I knew what was going on. And I was getting, pro formas, and I was getting operating memorandums and equity funding requests. And I was going through those and doing the research on that stuff and learning the demographics, the markets, what operating expenses were, and how do you put together debt for the bank, and who's the construction guys here, and who's that contractor there. And I was learning all of this information, which was great. So when I got back to DC in 2011, I got through the Pentagon for the first year, which was really fun. And then in 2012, I got together with my financial advisor at the time, and I said, I'd like to set up a business that basically does what I did for the last 7 or 8 years, which is passively invest in real estate. The first thing he said is, well, you're a pretty smart guy. You're an outgoing guy. You like to meet people and build relationships, but you need the back office guy who's going to do the taxes and is going to do the financials and is going to be the eyes of the business and the interior of the business. He said, so he connected me with a guy I was already working with as my accountant, and I pitched the ideas and strategy to my buddy who's the accountant at the time, and he said, I love it. And fast forward 9 years later, we both are best friends, and we run the business together. We took a full year between 12 and 13 to stand the business up, put the paperwork together, and really get our butts kicked from a lot of smarter people than we were in our network who were in mortgage and banking and lending. And they really helped us out. And when they gave us back all of the information, they said, hey, we're not going to charge anything, but one caveat, we want to be your first set of investors. And that was awesome.
Yeah.
Because now we got these guys who are on board working with us and investing with us on our deals. So we've been doing this for full time about 4 years, part time about 4 years. So I'm about ready to hit the 8-year mark in April. Business has been up and running and going real well. We've invested on 26 opportunities, 17 of which have gone full cycle. Of the 26, we're close to about $27 million in investment. So we're doing well. We're having fun, and I'm exactly where I want to be. I enjoy what I do. I'm meeting great people, and I'm continuing to grow the business each day.
That is awesome, and I love. It seems like some people get into entrepreneurship because they're like, "Hey, this is what the market needs," and I think I can do things better. Use me, use me, use me. But then there's, like you, where you're like, this is just what I'm doing and I'm making money doing it. So does anyone else want to do what I do? Right. We've had a couple of those on where it's just like, well, I just started a business because it was like people kept asking me how I did it. And I was like, well, here, I'll just start including people in what I do. So that's awesome.
Yeah. It is awesome.
No,
it's a lot of fun. And
the funny thing about real estate too is that like it's not like something new, right? Like you're not reinventing the wheel, right? It's like it's not like you came up with like some new product or like, oh, hey, we have this new way of building houses, or it's just a business that you can go kick butt at it if you go kick butt at it. And
yeah, exactly. I mean, you could point to Simon Sinek your why, right? Like, what's my why? And I think that's what you got to find when you're a business owner or you're doing anything on your own is, how do you break yourself out? What is your service? What is your product? Yeah, that's important, but why do people want to come to you and do it? Right. And that's really where you define yourself, is where you can show them this is why, and this is who I am, and this is why I believe in what I do. And people love that. People resonate to that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, let's kind of go back and figure out, kind of who was John Rubino at a young age? Like, right? Was John Rubino out like hawking, mistletoe in front of a grocery store, when he was 9, or, mowing lawns, or was he the entrepreneur type, or did you come from an entrepreneur family, or what?
Yeah, great question. Come from I'm an only child of my family, but my mom had 13 siblings total on her side. My grandfather, her dad, and her mom were both kind of my grandfather was first generation. He came over from Italy, and my grandmother was here, so they started a family and had 7 boys and 6 girls. And the occupation of the brothers was really grocery stores. They built grocery store, or they had grocery stores that they own, and they ran grocery stores. And we had one uncle who was my godfather, who opened up a writing academy that's still there in New York. It's called Jamaica Bay, and he was the entrepreneur there. And my aunts were also very successful. They were a part of helping my uncles out and their brothers. And so big family, 100 cousins plus. Christmas, Easter, New Year's, Mother's Day, we were always together. So, as a kid, I was around a lot of family. Even though I was an only child, I had cousins that were like brothers and family. My dad was an only child as well, but, he again had a nice family as well that I got to meet and get to know. My dad was in the Marine Corps, served in Korea. He was Force Recon, one of the first guys that had started the Recon group.
Yeah.
And he actually trained Navy SEALs back in the early 50s and mid 50s. Went to Korea, got the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star. He was pretty intense, and loved his time in the service. He started his own construction company in New York. Mom was a school teacher for 30, 40 years, but she was also owned her own practice as a therapist, a family therapist. So, yeah, I had a lot of entrepreneurial kind of backings when I was a kid, backings. I would go into my dad's office in the summer months and go on the construction sites when he was doing his work there with his guys. He had probably about 50 to 100 employees that worked for him. So, yeah, I learned about entrepreneurship at a young age, but the big thing I was attracted to was the military. I went to a parochial Catholic school for 8 years, and then Top Gun came out in 1986.
Yes.
And I said, just like Josh, I'm going in the military.
Yep.
I went to military high school, JROTC, for 4 years, graduated like 3rd in my class. I was carrying around a sword, and I was in charge of these 50 kids, and I was telling them what to do, and I was loving it. I went to a military high school, got the commission, 3rd mate's license in the Merchant Marine, business degree. I was pretty organized at that point, knowing I was going into the military, but I really didn't find more of that entrepreneurial spirit until I started finding about real estate, started getting into real estate and really enjoying it. Because, Josh knows when you join the military, you're all about serving your country, going out and flying, having fun with your friends, telling every chick in the world that you're the coolest thing since sliced bread. And that's the way it is, and then you meet your wife and you have a family, and then you start thinking, all right, now I gotta start thinking about my family. Now I gotta start thinking about how to make the military financially work. And
right.
That's kind of how I was. But ever since I was a kid, I was always very much attracted to the military and really business. doing things where I could meet people. In the grocery business, my uncles were very successful because of the relationships, the way they took care of their customers. And that was something my grandfather really kind of inspired them with, was you always take care of the customer. The customer is number one. And that's kind of been, it trickled down to my cousins and those that became businessmen and those that run their own companies, is if you take care of the customer, things will go well. Why? Because the customer is your livelihood. If you don't take care of your customer, if you don't take care of your clients, you got no business.
Right.
So you always got to take care of them first and treat them as good or better than you do your family. So that's kind of my mantra.
Yeah, totally agree. Absolutely.
I think if my dad trained Navy SEALs, I probably would not have been able to avoid the military either. So I could see growing up in that environment and be like, yeah, I'm going to the military. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So, I mean, you kind of, did you go to SUNY Maritime?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
I went to SUNY Maritime. Gotcha. Yep. I was there for 4 years and went to sea every year for 3 years. We had to go for 3 years, 60 days out of the year. You had to go overseas on the ship and learn how to scrub the decks and chip paint and, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
It was a requirement of the third mates and assistants engineering.
Yeah. Well, so, I went to school across the water, right?
Oh, you went to Merchant Marine. That's right.
Yeah.
So we're rivals not only from Boomer Sooners, but in the Rangers world there, but we're also, arch rivals from college. I love it.
College,
Very
yeah.
cool.
Jeez. Yeah. That was one of the only times I've ever been in a fight was at a rugby game versus SUNY Maritime.
Rugby game at Maritime,
yeah.
Oh,
nice. It was fun though.
Very
it was all
cool.
Good fun. We all had hugs and drinks afterwards, so it was fun.
Yeah, we did. That was right. That's right.
Awesome. Yeah. So, so you're kind of going down this career path, and because the military is very not entrepreneurial, right? In a lot of ways, right? I mean, there's some ways that you can kind of make things happen and kind of do your own thing, but it's about the world's largest, unmovable object, right? Trying to get things, all the red tape done in the military. So how did that kind of affect, your thought process and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it was challenging at times when you're working on a project or a program in the military, and non-flying related, of course, and you can't make the decisions because there's a general, an admiral, an SCS that's got to do that for you. So it was a little bit challenging at times. I'm like, man, I did all this work, and then he's going to be talking to all the big. That's fine, that's something to deal with. I mean, I love the squadron. You know how it is. You get to work with students, and you get to work with folks that you're kind of in charge of, or you're managing. I enjoyed it. I was in a lot of maintenance jobs when I was in the military, so the leadership there was awesome.
Yeah,
I got the chance to understand how that worked, and that's really found and resonated with me as I got out. Is that we get such great qualities, soft skills in the military that help us immensely as business owners, and it's been amazing, just those skills to help me to see things that I think that without that experience in the military would have been difficult. But now I'm making the decisions. I say yes or no. I have to deal with the ramifications and the risk, and I have to go through all of that. So the big thing is just making sure that I got the right people around me and we're all working together, because it's all about the team. So with my partner David on the financial side and the due diligence side, we have a consultant that helps us that used to work at Cushman. We have an employee that's full-time. We're all a team now.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm the boss and you guys work for me. It's not. We're a team. And my employee, he loves working with us. And I don't even call him an employee. He's a fellow team member. We love that.
Yeah.
And so we enjoy that. But the leadership I learned, the organization, how to write, senior level, executive level papers and PowerPoint presentations, that's helped me in business because it's allowed me to share professional products to investors and expect that from the people I work with. And so, it definitely set the bar high and has helped immensely.
Yeah. Kind of how did that pilot part of it, pilots are all about processes and checklists and, and the Navy's obviously all about red tape and massive levels of bureaucracy, but some of that's been created for a reason, right? So, I mean, has that kind of helped on some of the entrepreneurial parts of it, is putting some things in place? Obviously you need to be nimble and make decisions, but you also kind of need to put processes in place that are repeatable, right? So you're not reinventing the wheel every time.
No, you're hitting on a good book I just started reading called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And it's all about habits, little habits each day, instead of trying to attain goals. Because every time somebody asks me, well, what's your goal for this year? My goal is just to continue to do what I'm doing, have fun, do well, meet people, build relationships, and have a successful business. If I do that, then you could say whatever goal you want from there.
Sure.
But the way you do that is, like you said, Josh, is good habits, good processes, good systems that you build each day, which is personal development, professional development for you and your family. And I think that the military has helped me immensely there. A lot of times people get scared when somebody who's in the military comes out, and whether you're working with a civilian company or you're working for yourself, rigidity. Well, I get that. I'm not looking at the flight schedule every day and saying I have to go do this every second of the day. But at the same time, the organization skills, the checklists, like you said, I've created have helped me immensely. Like, so if I get a deal, I have my checklist. I go through my checklist, make sure I'm doing my stuff. If we have an active raise, which we do right now, I'm going through my timeline. Did I contact the investors? Did I get my products out? Am I talking to my attorney? When is the PPM due? When do I have to get that out? When do we have to get the money? All those things are step by step. And I'm not looking at that and making that the Bible. It's just my guidelines on what I'm using for those phases. And it's been so helpful, really, really helpful.
So, I mean, someone with that, level of, just all the skills that you got from the military, the leadership and the processes and everything, that kind of person is very employable as well. Right. And so did you ever have a time where you were like, you know what, screw this. I'm just going to go work for someone. I could probably make, $250,000 a year. I could probably get a nice compensation, and I'll just have everything laid out. It'll be very structured. Did you ever lean that way and have someone talk you out of it? Or was it really like, hey, I come from such an entrepreneurial family, this is just more natural to me?
Yeah, I mean, coming out from the military, security is huge. I did apply. I did interview for a few jobs when I was getting ready to get out, just to test the markets. And to be honest with you, even with COVID hitting, I threw my resume out there to a couple of friends just to see and say, okay, if I did have to take a break from the business for maybe a year or two, what's out there. So yeah, I mean, I still do that. I still polish my resume off just to have it if I need it. But I think that I'm looking at now what's coming into our pipeline, some of the deals that we were supposed to have finished 2 years ago or a year ago that are coming to fruition. You have a better appreciation for budgeting. You have a better appreciation for savings. You have a better appreciation for making sure that, you got a little nest egg like you would if you were in the military to take care of you and your family if something happens. And that's what I've done. And I believe in my business. I mean, I don't want to just jump ship. I know what we're doing is great. And I know what we're doing is going to do well for us. It's just, it's the biggest resource we all strive for. It's time.
Yep.
Time is the biggest resource, and just making sure that, realistic goals are set. We're living within our means. We have a daughter that's getting ready to start college this year. So I did the GI Bill. I could transfer it over to her. Great. I got 3 boys behind her. What did I do to plan for? We have 529 plans. Okay, great. So that, you just kind of put things into perspective, and you just, try your best to handle things. But yeah, I mean, look, you wake up every day, you got your plan, but God laughs at our plans. You try your best to go down the path that you think is right. And it may not be, it's not going to be a straight line. Just try your best to navigate it to the best of your ability and be ready to try to jump around if you have to.
Yeah.
Well, I guess so. When you did take the leap, I mean, it sounds like you had a lot of people who are there supporting you. Did you have anyone who kind of told you like, hey, John, there is a lot of startups fail, maybe think about something more stable. Did you have any of those? I don't want to say naysayers. I mean, because a lot of it is well intentioned, but just kind of cautionary, people over your shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had people that, friends and family and people that were just like, be cautious, just be aware of the risk that's out there. But I think that the fact that I started the business while I was still in the military with 4 years to go, the fact that, I am just so, it's just mind-boggling and just amazing and truly blessed to see how quickly we took off in an 8-year period to be where we're at. And I think that the fact that I was able to, consciously and in a good, rational way explain what we do, and we actually showed proof of concept, and we have the right people in the right places, I think I was able to really, not necessarily, tell those naysayers to get out of here, but I was able to at least explain to them. And when they saw that and I was able to walk them through it, they're like, wow, you know what? You do have a great plan. You are executing well. Be careful here, and here, but it was never like, oh, this isn't going to work. You got your wind way over your head and this and that. No, it was never like that. And it still wasn't like that. Even with the challenges we've had with COVID and everything, people are still seeing us do well, and we're having good success, but just always, again, keeping the eyes on the risk and making sure that we know they're out there and plan for them.
Yeah. So for you, why real estate, right? Like, why was it, there's thousands of other things you can do. Was it just kind of something you kind of stumbled into, or was something you're kind of passionate about, or was there a family member that did it? Like, why into that market?
So one of my best friends who got me started in real estate, we were on a detachment together, an 8-week detachment to New Orleans. It was back in 2004, 2005, and I was just hanging out in my room playing Nintendo or something. I can't remember. And he was starting to get into it, and he's the one that inspired me. He's like, hey, get off that stupid game system and come in my room. Let's talk about real estate. Do you want to learn about it? And I'm like, okay. And like for the next 2 weeks, we were just talking more and more about it. So I got the bug from those conversations, and he became a mentor. We started investing together. And to this day, one of the reasons why I stood up the business was to help, fund his projects and fund projects with those that got me started. Yeah. And, he's got a $400 million development company. And so I'm getting ready to invest on his 14th and 15th projects that we've done together. And we've raised, anywhere from $500,000 for him to up to $5 million for him. And, he was one of the major reasons why I decided to stay in real estate, to get in real estate and enjoy it. And so I'm really grateful to him. And at the same time, I'm working with him, and we're still continuing to grow our friendship. And, two guys that are taking a shovel and digging in the ground on a 189 unit apartment building down in Richmond in the middle of the city, and we're looking at each other and we're saying, how the heck did two knuckleheads that are pilots get to this point?
Right.
How awesome is that? But real estate's really been the mechanism to allow me to do what I do best, which is go out, meet people, network, build relationships, and bring something that I truly believe in, that I've put my name in and my, my identity to, my character to, and share that, because I truly believe what we're doing is wonderful, and why not share something good with others that could also benefit from it?
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and I mean, so as Josh mentioned earlier, like it's not like real estate's new, right? It's been around forever, and like you said, your buddy just took you aside and started educating you on it. It is something where just start reading. We had another guest, Langkao Oka, who he was an engineer, which was his dream job, and just realized this isn't what I want to do, and just started researching his own, researching real estate on his own, and then he built his own. So it is something where it's like, hey, if you have that bug, or you're feeling like you want to make a little bit more, it is a great place to start reading and researching, right? Because you never know what you might get into or what you might be a good fit for.
Yeah, John, exactly. So what was kind of that aha moment? You're sitting there, instead of playing video games, you're over there looking, talking about real estate, and you're like, oh crap, this is like a real thing. Like this isn't like a pipe dream where, two guys sitting here just BSing in the wardroom. This is like, oh wow, was it the numbers, or was it just the opportunities, or kind of what was, or was it kind of the whole package?
I think it was the whole package. It just got me excited. I mean, when I first started doing it in 2005, I was running all over the place, probates, foreclosures, this and that. And it was just before the Great Recession we had. Everything was so expensive. It's kind of like it was maybe about a year ago with after COVID, up to maybe 19, and then in the residential market probably last year when things were booming. But yeah, I think it was just the excitement of it to see it, dirt that becomes this monster building. And then just looking at the thing I get the most, excitement about and joy about is when I take an investor to a property the first time and they're looking at this area and it's really a dilapidated area and it's like things are falling apart. And they're like, we're going to be investing in this. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, why? I'm like, you'll see. And then I take them a year later and things are getting a little bit better. Like, hey, that building there wasn't there last time I came. And next thing you know, they come back 3 years, 4 years later when the thing's done. They're walking it. They see this area that they saw 4 years before that was like totally dilapidated. Now it's regentrified. There's a soccer stadium right down the road where, the Washington team is playing, the DC United team. There's the baseball stadium where the Nationals are playing. It's like, holy crap, how did you see this? And I'm like, that's real estate. You get in when nobody knows and and you know what's coming. You know, you do your work, you do the research. So that to me is the most exciting part, is just taking people to see these projects that they're investing in and they're getting excited about. And then, you know, looking at the deals, you know, just the excitement of what the deals are and where they're going to be, and these markets we're getting into, Charlotte, Atlanta, Tampa, you know, Chattanooga, all these different markets. It's exciting to see, and seeing all of these people moving there and all these businesses coming. It's like, wow, I mean, this is going to be great. So yeah, there's a lot there. And then just meeting new people, just sitting down with someone I've never met before that says, hey, I want to buy you a cup of coffee and learn about your business. And then we're sitting down and I'm learning about them. They're learning about me. Another great book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie, arguably one of the greatest books ever. You genuinely have a desire and commitment to learn about other people. Yeah. You're not, you know, paying them lip service. You're actually interested in what they do. And I think that that's so important these days, is just show people that and give them that. Whether it's you're talking to somebody on customer service at Verizon and you just treat them like a human being, they're gonna jump off the bridge for you.
Yeah. To make a quick plug for one of our previous guests, if you like chili peppers on your pizza, go get some Old Verdon's chili peppers. They're right out here out of Knoxville. They make artisanal dried chili peppers for pizza. It's amazing.
Yes,
nice.
And I did finally put the dried honey with the chili pepper on popcorn, and that is freaking amazing.
Yikes.
Yeah, look at it. Old Verdon's, they're amazing. Two entrepreneurs here in Knoxville, good people.
Yes.
Anyways, so John, I mean, I think what you kind of said this is a huge talent of being able to have vision, right? Like, you know, it's definitely something that a lot of people don't have, and that's not a knock. It's just, you know, I have people in my family who you could literally, you know, walk them through something. You're like, yeah, I don't see it. You're like, it's pretty obvious. You're like, yeah, I don't see it. But having that vision is actually a real talent, right? Because, you know, you're talking about your investors. You're like, I'm laying this out for you. There's going to be a baseball stadium here and a soccer stadium here and restaurants here and a new building there. And they're just like, yeah, I don't see it. I just see a bunch of old buildings and homeless people walking around. And so how do you kind of, you know, is that talent kind of that having that vision kind of a talent, but then how also do you be able to relay that to people?
Yeah, I spend a lot of my day in the mornings really on about an hour just going through local regional news, you know, pulling stuff up. And the best thing is when I see one of my projects featured in there, which is awesome. So I'm constantly looking at the news at the national, at the state, at the regional level, just pulling in that information. And a lot of the paperwork we put together when a new project comes out that we're going to bring to our investors for investment, you know, a lot of the packages come from the sponsors. So before they even get to the investors, we're looking at their packages, we're looking at the information, we're doing the research, we're doing the due diligence to make sure. And then we're like, okay, this is perfect. This makes total sense. We want to bring this to our investors. And then we put our products together. And our products are pretty standard now. Our investors all know what it looks like. So one of the things, and again, I won't get into this too much, but like when someone wants to become an investor with us, I don't really like to go out and bring on a new investor when I have a deal. I'd rather have an investor come on when I don't have a deal, because I want them to come on board and get comfortable with me, our process, what we do. And when they come on board and they, you know, meet the criteria of an accredited investor, they will then get to see every project we've done. If they want, we're doing, they can come in and meet me and I can take them to the deals. I like that because I want them to get a good understanding of what we do before they see their first deal.
Yeah.
Right. Not to say that they won't see their first deal, like when they sign up, they could, but I'd rather them get on board, see what we do, learn everything, ask the questions, beat us up, and then say, okay, I'm ready to take a look at my first deal with you guys. And we're going to say, okay, great. We've done our job, and now you're going to have the opportunity to see a deal and have the opportunity, not the requirement, to potentially invest.
Yeah. So when you're doing that and kind of you're developing the business, you're almost selling a process more than a deal, right? I mean, you're exactly. Like, hey, we have this amazing process that we've shown that works. Trust that process because it provides fruit, not just like, oh, hey, here's a great building we're building, right? Does that make sense?
Exactly. It takes the salesman out of the process, right? Because you're not trying to sell a deal that you're getting ready to raise money for. You're selling them your process. You're selling them your business. You're selling them you. That's your why, right? Mm-hmm. That's my why. I want them to come on board and like my business, like me for business reasons, like me personally, potentially be a good friend, be a good colleague, that I could help with, because, we do other things too that we could help them out with. But it's just building that relationship. It's just enjoying it. And everybody worries about money, growing their business, my goals. If you do what kind of I'm mentioning and you guys are kind of talking about as well, that does, everything else comes from that, right? So you have to go out and make that your focal point.
Right. Yeah.
Now, when you're developing your process and getting things launched off the ground, was there maybe a curveball or something you didn't see that kind of threw things off course, and it was like, wow, maybe I'm not cut out for this, or I've got to severely change how I do things? I mean, what were some of those? I don't want to say failure situations, but kind of failure situations.
Well, I mean, whenever you start something new and, you start getting into looking at whether it's different asset classes, working with a different sponsor, going into a new market, there's the initial try to understand stuff. And it's, James Clear in that Atomic Habits lays it out as our brains, the first time they see something new, that's the most kind of thought and the most growing of your knowledge you have, because your brain is working so hard because it's never seen this before. And if you think about it, that's where you're more prone to failure, right? Because you haven't done it before, or you try to bring in routines and systems and processes and habits that you've tried on other things, but it's not a one size fits all. So that's where, the problem solving, the creativity, understanding, that's the hardest part. So I've had that before. Absolutely. I mean, I still do. I mean, new deals, like we have never done a assisted living facility, but I want to do one. And it's not going to scare me because I've never done one, but I just want to make sure that we have the right people we're going to be working with, the right sponsors that have done it before. If I get somebody that says, yeah, I'm starting out, assisted living for the first time, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, let's jump on board. I want to make sure I have someone that's gone through that process, so it's an easier learning process for me. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times you think impulsively on things, or you look at something and say, yeah, I want to get in this, and you get involved and you go, oh crap, I didn't think of this and this and this. And that's happened before. But granted, they weren't huge catastrophic failures. They were just like, all right, the bump and bruise in the road, and we'll move forward and keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll talk about some of this on the second one, but what was kind of the hardest part to learn, right? Obviously real estate and, business just has many facets. So what was the thing or the part of it that you were like, oh, wow, I didn't know I needed to have that skill, right?
Yeah. I'll say this in general. The things that I wasn't good at, and having, let's call it the horizontal understanding of how to do it rather than the vertical. So again, there's different theories out there and people that are a lot smarter than me, but when you're vertically skilled at something, you are the go-to person, right? And so for me in my business, that's the face of the business. That's the operations of the business. That's knowing the ins and outs of the projects that we're involved in. The horizontals for me are due diligence and the numbers and the taxes and the K1s and what is that? That's not my subject matter expertise. Can I speak to that? Absolutely, I can. But I always make sure that I tell my investors that, look, I'm going to share with you what I know, but then you need to talk to David, my partner, because he's the numbers guy. He's got the returns. He's broke all of that out. So yeah, I mean, that to me is to let that go. I'm a type A personality. I mean, I have some obsessive compulsive kind of things that are going on, and a lot of times I wanted to take that and run with it. And it's really a disservice to me in my business by doing that, because my subject matter expert in those areas is not me.
Right.
It's my partner. And so to be able to let that go and to be able to say, look, this is what I know, but please talk to your subject matter expert, whether it's your personal trusted agent or David, my business partner in that realm, and letting that go. Because, Josh, we have a tendency to want to hold everything, have control, do it all on our own in the military. But that's one of the things you got to learn as a business owner, is that you're not always the subject matter expert. Henry Ford, who's probably arguably one of the most brilliant men that has ever walked the earth in our country. I heard stories about how these people would come in and they try to stump Henry Ford. And whenever they asked him a question he didn't know, he hit his little box and told his assistant, bring in Jim in logistics, or bring in Bill, my attorney. And they would ask him that question and they'd get the answer. And then he'd tell them, have a nice day. That's how you run a business.
Yeah.
Having those people that you can reach out to and bring in, either on your team or outsource.
Yeah. So what was something Mark and I love this question because we
Yes.
outsource stuff, but what was something that you outsourced right out the gate? You're like, oh, I suck at this. Like, no,
I was going to say the caveat there is what did you outsource and were glad to let it go? You didn't want to hold it.
Yeah, that's probably a better question. The one that I said that I hate this and I'm suck at it is my business partner does it better than me, so he does it. I have oversight. I can speak to it at a very high level, strategic level. I'm using the term in the military, but the stuff I'm glad that my employee's doing and he's knocking it out of the park is like, writing the monthly or the quarterly reports, or communicating more on a day-to-day at the tactical level with the investors,
Sure.
right? Handling the DocuSigns for new investors that are signing up, or for the private placement. Dave, my employee, and he's not even my employee, my team member, is doing an amazing job. And what it makes me enjoy doing is I'm trying to get him to learn. I don't want to say teach, but like facilitate the other aspects of the business, because he's just a sponge right now and he's doing awesome. So now I'm enjoying working with this guy who's like, to use the term in the military, like I'm the commanding officer and he's my master chief. He's my command master chief. Dave is just awesome. He's knocking it out of the park. So those things are making me have fun, and it's giving me more time to go out and do what I'm good at, which is meeting new people, setting up meetings for new potential investors or new sponsors that I can go and meet in person in my suit and walk in their projects. So that's been awesome, and I love that. That's one thing that I'm really happy with. The other thing is, we brought on Juniper Square as our investment portal. So now it's like our investors can go on to Juniper and they can look at their own investment page and their own portfolio page. And we hired Dave just for that. So he's loving that. He's building our offerings on there. Everything's going out on Juniper, and our investors are like, holy crap, this is great. Like, this is awesome. I don't have to bother you guys anymore for a tax return. I just can go on my portal and pull it up. Oh, and by the way, I just log in and it's encrypted. Holy macro. So that's been a game changer for us. We're looking at some other tools, some analysis tools that we want to use that'll help us with doing our due diligence and doing our analysis. But, I'm very much a big fan of crawl, walk, run. Don't do things too quick.
Sure.
Do it balanced and make sure, you're not trying to do too much too quickly.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, was there anything that maybe you guys outsourced or didn't outsource for the reason of like, hey, we realize this is something about us as a company or something about you specifically where you're like, I have to do this. If I don't do this, it's just not going to land with anyone.
Yeah, I mean, when it gets to the point like where, like, let's say, for instance, Dave is meeting someone new who's a potential investor, he'll do a lot of the upfront stuff, and then it's like he turns it over to me, and I'm the one that basically would spend time with them, walk them through some of the details with Dave on there, because eventually Dave, and he's already doing it, Dave can then be the guy that can talk to them and bring them on board and close them as a new investor. But right now, like, for instance, if I'm going to go meet the CEO of Donahoe Construction because they want us to invest with them on a project, that's my job. I'm going to go out there. I'm the executive. I'm the CEO. I'm the founder principal. I'm going to go out and meet with the CEO and have lunch with him, and we're going to talk. I'm not going to send, somebody on my team who's, an analyst or something to do that. So, yeah, that's something I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And something I'm good at and I enjoy doing. And if you're good at something and you like it and it's why you're, face of the business, then you're gonna do it. Yeah.
Mark and I always joke that we outsourced our graphic design immediately.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we cannot
I'm more of like that looks good. That does not look good. That's my my graphic design.
Like our website, WordPress. I don't know how to use WordPress. Yeah. So like Dave is working with our website guy, and the website looks great. I'll tell him I want this picture, I want this project, I want that rendering, but have fun doing that. I'm here to help.
I trust.
And he likes that too, because I'm not micromanaging. I'm telling him.
Yeah,
that's another thing with the military. We have a tendency to micromanage, but when you tell a team member, employee that, hey, he's like, when do you want me to release the report? I'm like, anytime you want this week, it's your call. Yeah, and I love that. Because you're giving them autonomy to make the decisions.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it too. They're doing a great job.
So speak to that a little bit on just management style, and it maybe differs a little bit from the military, but why do people micromanage so much, and how do you get away from that, right, and give autonomy?
Yeah. So I have a prayer on my wall. It's called the Serenity Prayer. If you ever heard it, it's God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference between them both. One of the hardest things we have that we can't let go is control.
Sure.
And that's one of the hardest things in the world. But you have to let go of control at times for two reasons. One, it reflects the potential of not trusting. When you are micromanaging, I had skippers, you probably did before, Josh, that, every question they asked you, you were just like, you wanted to say to yourself, Skipper, can I just do my job?
Yeah.
So it definitely personifies a potential flaw of dishonesty, that they just don't trust you. So that's the one thing, and that's terrible. The second is there's only so much you can do. I mean, you can't do everything. Donald Trump, arguably the greatest mind in real estate, Robert Kiyosaki, these guys are brilliant. They've done a lot of things on their own. They've done a lot of things, but they have a team. Yeah. They have a team. And you got to have the team there that's going to be able to do the best job. Yes, you have to train them. You have to help them. Dave comes to me and has a question. I love when he does, because that just tells me he trusts me to ask me that question. He's not afraid to ask me that question. I pretty much give Dave the key to the Jaguar. We don't have one, but I give it to him anyway. And he's got questions to ask me, or he's not sure about something, he feels confident he can ask me about anything. So that's awesome. And I do the same with him. I tell him, hey, what do you think? I'm going to go out with this or that. Well, you may want to try this and that. And it's like, we're both working together. We're communicating, and we're helping each other out. And I'm getting rid of a lot of the things. I may mention it at my staff meeting on a Monday or Friday, but after that, it's like, Dave's got it. He's going to let me know, and maybe I'll remind him if I haven't heard from him in about a week or so, but that's it. Yeah, it's done.
And you give him the keys to the Ferrari, because that's what you have instead of the
Yeah. The Learjet.
You might have to steal that one. Just throw in there like, give him the keys to the Ferrari. Yeah.
Give him the keys. Yeah, go for it.
It looks a lot like a Subaru, but it's a Ferrari.
It
runs like a Subaru also.
Yeah, exactly.
And switching, from management back to entrepreneurship, and mostly people's perception and psyche around it. Why do you think most people are hesitant or scared about that entrepreneur lifestyle, right? Because everyone loves what it produces when they see someone successful, but they're always a little hesitant to go in.
Yeah, I mean, there's such great books out there. It's all about your brain and your brain power, and whether or not you're able to step forward and take the plunge. After a while, you could plan, but until you actually step forward and do it, it's a great idea. You may see it on television because you didn't press the go button, right? So I think some people are just afraid, and that's common. We're afraid of things at times because we don't want to get hurt. We don't want to take a risk. We're taught that in school, right? I mean, every kid that's out there, I even try to teach my kids. I have cash flow quadrant from Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. My kids have Roth IRAs. They're 14 and 15 years old. I want them to get their hands dirty. I gave my boys the checkbook, and I said, all right, you're going to pay the bills for me this month. Here's all the money. Here's the website. I did a little game with my boys, my two younger boys. I gave them a balance sheet, and I said, all right, what do you want to be when you grow up? An engineer? Okay, you want to be a Navy pilot? You're cool. I say, go online, look up and see what these guys make as a salary. Let's work that out together. How much are you making a month? What are you going to pay towards tax? So kids need to learn that. People need to learn that. And that's the basics. And then
people need to learn that.
People need to learn that. Right. And I think from there, it's like real estate is such a great, it's so big. What do you want to do in real estate? Do you want to be an investor? Do you want to be a developer? Do you want to be a wholesaler? Do you want to be a realtor? Do you want to be, you know what I mean? So there's so many things there that you got to think of. But for me, it was, I want to be an investor. I want to grow my investor base. I want to be someone that can invest in property. And I'm having a blast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what, because like you said, there's many things you can do in real estate. There's many sectors of real estate, right? I mean, you could be, low income housing, you can be residential, commercial. What do you think is probably the biggest misconception in real estate? Whether people go in and they're totally wrong, or they don't go in for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I think, it's just like anything. Whenever there's hard work and you got to actually roll up your sleeves and do stuff, people tend to say, I can't do this. It's too much, or they find an excuse of why they can't do it. I don't have money to go buy my first property, or I don't know the right people. That if you want it that bad, you're going to do it. And if you tell your brain and you build processes and systems and habits, you're going to do it. So for me, it was just, I can't do that, but who do I know that can, and bring them on and do it? That's a challenge, or that's a risk. Can we get around it? How do we make sure it's not going to hurt our investors? So that's part of the process, is just talking yourself into doing it, and doing something in real estate you're good at based off of your skills and your willingness to grow, as at the same time something that can make you money, build relationships, and you can have fun at. I mean, if you want to be a passive real estate investor, don't go out and be a developer. I mean, do you know how to get a permit? Do you know how to walk the plans through the permitting offices? Do you know how to talk to architects? I mean, no, then don't do that.
Right.
do something that you can do a little bit at a time.
Yeah, I think that goes back to just basically finding your strength thing, right? Like stick with what you're good at and don't try and do stuff that you're not good at. Like, it's pretty simple.
But don't be afraid to learn things that you may not know, and bring on the right people that can help you do them to start. Right. And then that's how you succeed.
Yeah. And again, a lot of that is, like you said, it's rolling up your sleeves and diving in and figuring it out too. Because you don't know. You might dive into something like, oh, actually, I'm actually really good at getting permits through, and the guys at the county like me for some reason. I don't know why, and I'm good at that. And there might be other guys who's like, yeah, don't send Jim down there. He just pisses everybody off. Like,
that's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
And as well as like also just diving in to know it's not for you, because I've definitely walked some people through the like, hey, here's how real estate works. Go do your own research, and after they do their own research, they're like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Right? Yeah. They're like, that's a different world. I'm not into that. And it's like, all right, at least you check it off the list, right?
Right.
Exactly. In the back of my mind, I'm like, no, but again, I don't want people to do things that they're not comfortable with. But
no, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you could wake up every day and hate what you do, but you got to do it because you got to make money. And if you decide to go into real estate because now you can and you have enough to take care of yourself, and that's something you like to do, then do it. Right? Get out of the job you don't like anymore if you can do the job you love. Right? It can take care of you.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, Josh, I think it's a good shifting point where we can probably go into episode 2 after our speed round, and we'll learn a little bit more about JID investments and how you guys operate, a little bit more about your company and what your offerings are. But first,
we're going to get down and dirty,
John. Speed round. So, first question of the speed round: if you could go back and give 8-year-old self some advice, what would it be?
Oh man, how much time do I get with them? I would say buy Tesla, Google, Apple, and then go buy as much real estate as you can in these markets.
Yeah, I like it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But don't buy it till like 2009, 10.
That's right. It's not even there yet, but just be ready. Remember Back to the Future Part 2 with the red book.
Yes, the almanac.
The almanac, exactly.
Yeah, 2009 and 10, just be ready to buy as much property, like leverage everything.
Leverage everything.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Well, I'm old. I'm 46, so it would have been in the 80s or in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So, if you're a aspiring entrepreneur or a struggling entrepreneur, what are a couple of books you would recommend?
Yeah,
you kind of already mentioned them.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, hands down. Art of the Deal. Donald Trump's Art of the Deal is great. Just to listen to him and negotiate. How to Win Friends and Influence People. I mentioned that. And then the book I'm reading now, Atomic Habits, has just been amazing. Yeah. James Clear. Highly recommend that.
So real quick, I want to go into the Rich Dad Poor Dad thing because I've recommended that book so many times. And like, what do you think? Because it's really not that hard of a concept, right? Like it's not mind blowing when you listen to it, especially if you're in the finance world. But why do you think that book is so good?
Well, it gets people excited because, Robert was a Marine helicopter pilot. He wasn't an accredited investor. And when his rich dad and his rich friend told him all this great stuff and he was ready to go, they said, sorry, Robert, you can't do it yet. And that was like, such a downer, right?
Yeah.
So it motivated him to become who he is today. So I think it's a huge motivator to get people excited about it. I also think it just does such a wonderful job at not only setting you up for success as a business owner in real estate or whatever your passion is, it also sets you up for life.
Yeah.
Like you need a broker, you need an accountant, you need an attorney. You need to make sure that you are financially sound before you take that step forward. Yep. And Robert even says it in the book, and I always say it, is that he should open up a college, a university, because kids today and even grown-ups, and I'm not trying to point a finger, I'm not being judgmental, it's just you see what's going on in society today. You see what's going on in our country. I mean, so many people, everybody gets so caught up in the rat race, and it's like, but how do you go buy a brand new car when you have a $40,000 credit card debt? I mean, honestly, but people don't care. They just that's what they're taught. So.
Yeah. I think the thing for most people, I had people in my family listen to it. I won't mention any names, but it was a mind shift about like, oh, there's a different way of thinking that actually is successful versus being, unsuccessful.
Right.
And there's a lot of ways to do it too, right?
Yeah. And I mean, he's brilliant, because he's got multiple books. He's got books for the kids. I've read Cash Flow. I've read The Guide to Investing. I got The Game. I play the game with my kids. My kids, anytime it rains, my oldest boy, who's 16, says, let's play Cash Flow. I want to play Cash Flow. It's like, all right, cool, let's go. So, it's fun. He's just a really brilliant guy.
Yeah. Well, sorry, Mark, that wasn't very speedy, but
No.
I'll go quicker. I know I'm talking a lot.
On your, mentioning the game Cash Flow, I've got the opposite of that game. My brother found a game, I think at a thrift store, called Public Assistance: Why Work for a Living, and it's literally Monopoly for government programs.
Nice.
There's like, you win if you get on like, permanent disability, and just all this
God.
like, yeah. So,
the entitlement game.
I thought that was funny. Okay, so slightly speedy round. Question number 3.
Yeah, we'll go quicker.
This is no longer business related, but if you could go back and go to one concert of one era, where which year are you going to? Which band are you seeing?
I smiled when you said that question. I'm a big fan of Billy Joel. He always have been, always will be. I saw 3 of his concerts. He is just an amazing performer. He's from New York, which is where I'm from, and he was married to Christy Brinkley, so that's cool. And he's just a really cool guy, and his music's awesome. And he would be the dude that I would love to meet backstage and go to another one of his concerts, which I hope to do.
So are you going to like a 90s Billy Joel concert or like an 80s? And like
I was going to the 80s with him at Giant Stadium, and
yes.
It was amazing. And then I saw him at Madison Square Garden, and then I saw him here in Washington, D.C. at Nats Park. It was awesome.
Nice.
Just a great performer.
Billy Joel.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Billy Joel.
So I don't know if you're a foodie. Mark and I, you can tell by the fatness of our faces, eat a lot. So we're kind of foodies. But celebrity chef you would love to go either and have them come cook for you, and what are they making you?
Oh man, jeez. I guess that's a good question. Gianna's pretty good. She's an Italian chef.
Yeah,
she's pretty good. She makes some good food. She likes to go into Italy and cook, linguine and pasta. I love to cook. I got 3 boys. Got to cook for them all the time. I love cooking. So, Gianna would be pretty cool.
But maybe Mario Batali
Mario Batali, yeah.
Pre-incident, right? Like pre-Mario Batali.
Emerald,
yeah.
Bam.
Bam. That's right.
I do that every once in a while.
I love it. That's awesome. Okay. Well, sweet. Some Italian food with Gianna. You can't complain about that.
Nope.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, we will wrap it up there. And, second episode is going to be all about JID Investments and how you guys actually work and, where people can find you and all that stuff. Super awesome. Looking forward to that. Thank you so much for being on.
My pleasure, guys. This was great.
Yeah, we'll have links to all of your stuff
cool.
in the show notes. And real quick, everyone, anything we say on the Wealth Preservation Podcast can't be taken as tax, legal, or financial advice. So please, if anything's not interesting, go contact your CPA, your legal counsel, or financial counsel, and get guidance from them. So until next time, we will have a great day, and we'll chat soon.
Yay!
Thanks, guys.
There we go.
Awesome.